My name is Nia-Malika Henderson. I'm with the Washington Post, joined here now by Ken Blackwell, the former Secretary of State of Ohio and Treasurer of Ohio, here speaking with me now. I want to get a sense from you whether or not the Republicans are going to be at a disadvantage because their convention has been shortened from 4 to 3 days.
I really don't think so. You do a lot of contingency planning in big events like this. And while they didn't want it to happen, I think they were prepared for something like this. So the message will be tightened, but it will be just as powerful, just as clear in drawing the contrast between Team Romney and Team Obama. And I'll tell you, I think that this is going to, in Ohio, I don't think it's going to make a difference. The latest poll there by the Columbus Dispatch showed it a dead heat.
That's right.
45-45.
So do you think going forward that conventions are going to be just shorter and tighter, that the whole 4-day routine will just be scrapped and maybe 2 days?
Yeah, I think the media unfortunately drives that, and yes, I think the window for presentation has gotten tighter, and I think the nature of conventions has changed dramatically. And so just like Olympic coverage changes, this is another event to the media that they will force into a tighter and tighter window.
Do you think they still matter, conventions, in terms of voters? You said that it might not matter very much to folks in Ohio.
Well, as a former vice chairman of a platform committee in 2008, I think conventions matter. I think platforms matter. Particularly in an election like this one coming up, that I think is going to be a base turnout issue. You have to have a bright line of distinction between Democrats and Republicans, between Romney and Obama. And I think the more that you can use the convention and the media window to brighten the line of distinction, the better.
So in 2004, something very interesting happened in your state in terms of the African-American vote and the Republican turnout. I think it went from 9% in 2000 to 16% in 2004. How did that happen, and is that something that Romney is going to be able to do this go-around?
Well, what happened in 2004 was that there was a marriage amendment on the ballot, and the apostolic and Pentecostal churches turned out voters who historically weren't as engaged as other faith communities.
Yeah, I know those apostolic churches very well. I grew up apostolic.
Right. So I think that in large measure, Kerry distanced himself and opposed the marriage amendment. Bush embraced it, and I think that made a difference in the African American turnout and Bush's share of that turnout in Ohio. And look, Ohio went for Bush by 118,000 votes. That means that if you had turned 60,000 votes, you would have had a President Kerry. But at the end of the day, Team Kerry called into my office the morning after the election and said no mas.
Right. And what can Romney do? I mean, there's obviously no marriage amendment on the ballot this year. Is there something Kerry can do to broaden the people who are looking at his candidacy?
Well, I think that the president has thrown a slow inside softball to him in what is perceived as an attack on the Catholic Church, and so working class Catholics, blue collar Catholics in Ohio went for Obama in 2008. I think they're in play this time around, and with Ryan being a Catholic that has appealed to blue collar voters, I think they're back in play and can shift the outcome.
Final question. I know you've watched a lot of convention speeches in your time. Favorite moment from a convention over the last 20 years? Favorite speech?
Well, one of my favorite speeches had to be and it was a theme in '84 with Reagan, and that was Morning in America, and it really talked about the ability of this country now in our 237th year to rebound, to come back, to give a new birth of freedom. And meaning to American exceptionalism.
You can imagine that folks are going to be referencing Reagan a whole bunch during this
imagine.
convention. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Right,
Good to
take
be
care.
with you.
Bye-bye.